Guys, welcome to this week's session for English 11A. Today we're going to be talking about research questions, and in a minute you're going to watch a video about how to develop a research question and what different components you should include in a research question. I want to make sure that you go after you watch the video. Make sure that you also go to the link that I've included that has an overview of project 2 and 3. Project 3 is when you'll turn it in, but you'll begin working on the project in Unit 2. I want you to go check out that overview. Make sure you don't have any questions about topics or about how to begin working on that research project this week. All right, and then your first word for your code, for your access code, it's a 2-word code this week, and the first word is
Welcome to our Async session for this week. Today we're going to be talking about research questions. Our objective is to generate a direct, specific question to guide our research. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, what is a research question, or why do I need a research question? Well, a research question is designed to guide your research. It's designed to help you focus your research and understand what direction you want to go with your research. Are there good or bad research questions? Absolutely. We want our research questions to lead us somewhere. So we want to avoid yes and no types of questions. It doesn't help us if the answer to our question is yes or the answer to our question is no, because it's not going to take us anywhere. We want to be able to use our question to take us to the next level of our topic. So what is the criteria for a research question? Well, first of all, it should be a question. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? Secondly, it must be directive, meaning that it must take us somewhere, and then it must be specific. If it's too broad of a question, we're going to wind up with way too much information about our question to really narrow it down to a 3 to 5 page paper like we're writing in our class. So let's take an example of a topic, and then we're going to work on focusing that topic down into a research question. So let's take climate change. This is a good topic because it's a very broad topic. So if I said to you, we're going to go out and we're going to write a research paper on climate change. First of all, you might have a momentary sense of, oh goodness gracious, that's a huge topic, because it is very, very broad. So can we narrow it down a little bit? So I want you to think for a minute, and I want you to think about what topics fall under the umbrella of climate change. What other things might come up when you're addressing that topic of climate change? For one, we might think of, let's say, global warming. We might think of rising sea temperatures. We might think of drought, or natural disasters. The other one we might think of is rising sea levels. Oops, I keep messing up my arrows. So I think that's a pretty good list. So goodness gracious, if we were to write just about climate change, that is a lot of stuff to cover. And then under the umbrella of each one of those things, we can get even more specific. So when we are given a topic, we want to narrow our topic down so it's directive, and we want to learn how to be more specific. So if we look at all of these options, they're all good options, and they're all super interesting, and they all affect us, and they're all current events in the section, in the sense that they are all relevant to our current society. So let's pick one of these, and then let's work on narrowing this down even farther. So I'm going to pick natural disasters. So I'm going to delete the rest of these. And I'm going to go with the natural disasters. Well, I don't know about you, but what natural disasters can you think of? Right off the top of my head, I automatically think of hurricanes. Probably because we just had Hurricane Michael that really did a lot of damage down in the Panhandle in Florida. Or earthquakes. I think of earthquakes because I grew up in California. There's also tornadoes. There are tsunamis. There are tidal waves. I guess it's kind of a tsunami. Oh, forest fires. That's the other one. It left my brain for a minute. It was there and then it was gone. Forest fires, which actually is super relevant to us in Arizona because we have dry forests sometimes and we do see forest fires in our state quite often. But so those are a lot of natural disasters. So we're going to narrow our topic down even further to hurricanes, because, like I mentioned, we just suffered Hurricane Michael in Florida. So let's look at hurricanes. So now I'm like, okay, so I could go out with my topic of hurricanes and I could just go to Google and search hurricanes. And I bet you I would find a lot of information about hurricanes. But that's such a broad topic. We could talk about the different types of hurricanes, the different sizes of hurricanes. We could talk about the different locations around the world that can have hurricanes, the causes of hurricanes, the destruction of hurricanes, etc. So it, again, is a very, very broad topic. So we want to look back at our criteria for a research question, and we want to narrow it down to be something more specific. That will also give it direction, so we know, what do we want to know about hurricanes? Well, let's remember, this is falling under our umbrella of climate change. So how are hurricanes and climate change connected? I want to know, is there an increase in hurricanes in the last few years? And why? That's one thing I want to know. What else I want to know? I want to know what is the impact of hurricanes? Like, we see it right in the aftermath, but what is the long-term? I'm going to go long-term impact of hurricanes on the local community. Okay, so I have two questions. Those are the two things I kind of want to know about hurricanes. Is there an increase in hurricanes in the last few years, and why? And what is the long-term impact of hurricanes on the local community? Okay, well, let's look at these. Are either of these yes or no questions? The first one, is there an increase in hurricanes in the last few years? That's going to be a yes or no question. It either is going to be an increase or it isn't. Obviously, the why might tell us more about the yes or the no, but it's not going to take us a lot of places. What about the next one? What is the long-term impact of hurricanes on the local community? Okay, that's a good one because it does give us direction. We're going to look at the long-term impact of hurricanes, like in terms of rebuilding and then perhaps preparation for the hurricanes to come. Then we're going to focus on a local community. We can even get a little bit more specific, and we can combine our two questions so that we have one that also connects to our concept of climate change. We could say, due to the impact of climate change, what is the long-term, let's change this word to effect since we already have impact, of hurricanes on local communities, I'm going to say along the United States coastline. The reason I did that is because I want to be specific, remember, and directive. So now I'm looking at the impact of climate change, the long-term effect of the hurricanes in local communities, but I changed it so that we're looking at it in the United States. What is that impact on the United States community that is in Florida or is in the path of hurricanes that's in that hurricane alley? What is that long-term impact? So by narrowing my focus, almost like a funnel, I started at the top with climate change. We narrowed it down to what falls under climate change, and then we took away all of those different options to natural disasters, and then we narrowed that down even further to hurricanes until we came up with this one question at the end about the impacts of hurricanes on local communities along the United States coastline and the impact of climate change in that regard. So now we have a directive, specific research question. I don't know the answer to this question yet. I have to do research to answer this question. So before we can write a thesis statement and generate an outline and utilize the research, we actually have to do the research. So now I have a starting point. I can go and look for information and for relevant sources that showcase the answers to my question. Now, once I answer my question, I can use the answer to build my thesis statement. And guess what? That's what we're going to do next week, because next week when we work on that research paper, we're going to need a thesis statement. So in our session for next week, in the live session, and then again in the asynchronous session, we are going to focus on building that thesis statement. So stay tuned for that. But this week, I want you to focus on generating a research question and beginning your research. So part of your quiz today is going to be, when you get to that point after you finish watching this video, is to be able to build your own research question to guide our research. So my question to you will be we're obviously going to review the information that we presented here today, but I'm also going to ask you to work on generating your own research question that you can then apply to our research project for this class. So think hard and long about your topic, but remember to narrow it down, make it directive and specific. Reach out to me with any questions you have, or if you need any help with the generation of a topic or a research question, I'd be happy to assist you.
Hi, it's me again. Hopefully you had a chance to watch the video and you have that first code word I gave you early on in that video. And now that you've listened to and watched the video on research questions, what you need to do is take the access code. The second word in the access code is radio. So take the first word I gave you, and I just gave you the second word, which was radio, and you're going to put them together with a space between them. No capitals, please. And go in and take the quiz. It's in our courses under quizzes. You're going to click on the week 2 quiz. All right, so you have your 2 code words. I want you to go in and take the quiz. You're going to use the information that we discussed in the video to help you with that quiz, okay? Let me know if you have any questions or need help with the project. Don't forget to check out that overview of Project 3 that I referenced in the first video. Thanks.